Welcome back everybody to another Motobob video from MCL25, and we're at the Triumph stand for a little bit of an exclusive. So in this video we'll go through all of the details with absolutely everything that you need to know about them. So what are the names of these two new bikes? Well, on this side we've got the new Street Triple RX. This one's going to be available from spring 2026. It basically sits a little bit above the current top dog Street Triple RS, but then also we've got a very special looking Moto2 Edition that celebrates their position, I guess, as the engine provider for the Moto2 series. That one is a limited edition bike. That's not the case for the RX. And I believe this one, the Moto2, is coming a little bit later in June 2026. So what is it that separates these two new bikes from the RS? Well, one of the factors is the suspension with a little bit of an upgrade and also a tweak to the geometry. Up front, we've now got an Öhlins fork. It's an NIX30, which is about the best of the best on this sort of level of bike. And that replaces the Showa upside down fork of the Street Triple RS. So yeah, you've got a low friction coating, you've got 115 mil of travel, you got full adjustability, and Triumph says this gives even better levels of control when you're riding on the track, which is kind of what these particular bikes are more so aimed at. I think you've got a nice spread now of bikes in the Triumph lineup with the addition of these two. Certainly in terms of middleweight nakeds, you've got the new Trident 800, which is much more road focused, a little bit more torquey. You've got the Street Triple R, which may or may not stay in the lineup, but above that the RS, which is a road and track bike. But these two offer something a little more aggressive, let's say, if your riding generally biases a little bit more towards track. Now, I say also there's a tweak to the geometry of the bike. They also did the same with the first version of the Moto2 Street Triple. This is the second iteration. But yeah, it's not a massive re-engineering of the frame or anything like that. It's just that they've lengthened the shock. I don't know if it's a longer shock or they've used spacers. But yeah, it lifts the ride height at the rear. And what that does is steepens up the fork angles. So you should find that this is a little more flickable, quicker turning, maybe at the compromise of a little bit of that road-friendly stability. As a result of that though, the seat height of course goes up a little bit as well. So it now sits at 839 mil in the seat. Fairly tall, it's got to be said for a naked bike, although it is only, I think, 3 mil more than the Street Triple RS, so it's not necessarily, you know, a big enough difference to put anyone off who was maybe considering the RS. The other thing though, the major change for this bike is the fact that it gets clip-on style bars as opposed to the flat bars of the RS. And so yeah, it's definitely set up for that track style riding and might be appealing to anyone who misses the sort of less compromising position of something like the Daytona. They're still not, you know, really low clip-ons. They don't sit below the top of the forks there. You can see they're risen up a touch, but clearly these are much narrower and lower than the flat bars on the RS. The other thing that these bars bring though is a certain bling to the cockpit, because what you've got is this billet top yoke, which looks absolutely phenomenal. And so there's definitely a bit of a difference and a slightly more premium feel when you're actually sat on the bike. With the RX version, you've got the RX logo etched into the top here. With the Moto2, a Moto2 logo, of course, but also with that being limited to 1,000 bikes globally, they also put the number of your particular bike on there as well. Now, of course, they've changed the look of the bike a bit as well, so there are some aesthetic choices that are specific to this RX model, like the RX on the tank. We talked about the RX on the top yoke as well. They've also laser etched RX onto the silencer down there. It's in the seat cover as well. But I think my favorite thing about this bike is the finish with this silver, the matte silver, and also the Diablo Red accents on the side panels here, on the subframe, and also on the wheels. Now, if this looks at all familiar to you, that's probably because it's a really similar finish to the previous iteration of the RX Street Triple, which was on the old 675 version of this inline triple. And so for me, I think it makes quite a cool little reference or nod back to a previous model, but also with the slightly more angular shapes of the newest Street Triple. It still looks modern as well. I really like this one. Tim, what do you think of the paint job? He's into it, and he's a Street Triple owner previously, so yeah, hopefully they've hit the mark with this one. Now we'll get onto the price in a moment, but it won't surprise you that you pay a little bit more for the Moto2 version, but it's got to be said, to look at, I like that one, the RX, but this is one heck of a good looking naked motorcycle, and that's come from a lot of the finish that they've applied, which just takes it up a little extra notch for me. You see, you've got a bit of carbon on it with the side panels, on the front mudguard, on the belly pan as well, so just that racy little look to it. And then also this paint job, a bit of grey, a bit of black, a bit of bare carbon, a bit of white, and then the Triumph Performance Yellow, which I really like on these particularly sporty models of theirs. They put it on the subframe, on the graphics, but also a little stripe on the wheels as well. And this one is definitely one of my favourite looking naked bikes on the market for 2026. On top of the paint job though, you've also got Moto2 on the silencer. You've got a dimpled seat cover as well, which is nice looking, but also they say gives a little more grip, so better for that aggressive track riding where you're really hanging off. And also you get a Moto2 logo when the TFT dash starts up, which, you know, functionally doesn't really do anything, but maybe just gives you that sense of a little bit of prestige. As for the rest of the spec, well, it's pretty much as per the RS. So in this inline triple, the 765, you're getting about 128 horsepower at 12,000 RPM. There's 80 Newton meters of peak torque at 8,500 RPM. The weight still comes in at 188 kilograms, same as the RS for both these bikes, and that includes the Moto2 with the carbon bodywork. So it's not really a weight-saving thing and more of a fancy level of finish kind of thing. Same 15-litre tank, same Brembo Stylema brakes, which are about as good as it gets anyway, and the same fully adjustable STX40 rear shock. And so I've absolutely no doubt that these bikes are going to be phenomenal to ride. I was lucky enough to test the most recent Street Triple 765 at Jerez. That was terrible. And it was amazing on track. We did a day on the road after that as well, and it was a great all-rounder, so I can't imagine this being anything else but a bucket load of fun on track. But look, onto the thorny issue of the price, with the RS model as a bit of a benchmark coming in at £11,995. This though, the RX, for the fork upgrade, the fancy finish, the lovely top yoke, you're looking at £12,895. And if you want the carbon, the very beautiful paint job for me, and also the exclusivity of having a Moto2 Edition, then unfortunately you're going to have to fork out $14,495, I believe, which, yeah, you know, obviously you're going to pay a premium for the privilege of having a Moto2 bike. But I guess that's the good thing about this announcement today. If you want the functional upgrades, you can get the RX. And if you want something that stands out a bit from the crowd and has that limited run, then you can get your skates on and get hold of a Moto2. So there we have it, two more great looking Triumph motorcycles for 2026. I'd love to know what you think of them down in the comments below, especially if you do like your track riding. And I'll put the rest of our videos on the screen now, somewhere around here, from Motorcycle Live. So if you haven't seen all of our uploads, you can check out that playlist and stay up to date. Do hit subscribe as well if you want more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews right here on Moto Bob. Triumph have got more announcements coming over the next few months, so we'll cover those in all their detail. A massive thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next video.